right, so there's a lot of info in this one, so there's no clear-cut theme here with PowerPoint. I'm just going to give you the straight information. I think it's really going to help you, okay? It's going to give you some clarity, and I'm also going to tell you my return policy and how I deal with literally every single return in the system that I use, okay? So overall, just to kind of get it out of the way, there's three main ways to deal with customer returns when you sell merchant fulfilled on Amazon, okay? Now, you can just refund everything so that you don't have to deal with it, or you can just refund an order so you don't have to deal with it, right? If you get a return or you get a customer that's unhappy, you can, and that's obviously going to protect you from bad, bad feedback, bad, like A to Z claims or anything like that, and just the overall hassle of dealing with a return. Or you could provide a prepaid return label to the customer, which means that you pay for the return shipping. Or you could allow the customer to return the item, but do not offer them a return label that's prepaid to do so, right? Simply offer them the return address and tell them that they can ship it back to you. When you receive it, you'll issue them a refund, okay? Now, really briefly, before we go over some of the kind of key information that I want to cover, I'll go over my return policy so you can see exactly how I handle certain things. And then we'll get into the nuances of how I, how, not necessarily recommend, because I recommend that you follow my return policy, but you don't have to, obviously. But then we'll get into like the different overall strategies of how you can approach it. I'll show you the back end and we'll talk about some other tools, okay? So my return policy is to simply refund everything under $50 so I don't have to deal with it, okay? Now, yeah, you'll lose some money on some sales, yes, but you'll save a lot of time and a lot of headaches receiving the returns, right? Messaging and dealing with the customers, matching the returns with the actual corresponding order and the corresponding order on your spreadsheet and refunding the customer, right? And then shipping out the returns, filing for the return on your supplier's website and dealing with that. And then obviously when you get the return authorization and you get the return, credit back, putting that back in your spreadsheet. Now, that's a major headache all in all, right? And that's not that big of a headache and a big of a deal for one time, right? But if you're getting a couple of returns even, a week, it can start to become a headache, right? And chances are if you scale, you're going to be getting multiple returns every single week, okay? So that's my policy for everything under $50 because it's not necessarily worth it for me in that opinion, in my opinion, and it's going to obviously make the customer happy. It's also going to save me a lot of time and a lot of headaches, and I just really don't feel like dealing with it, right? Now, I also offer a prepaid return mailing label through pirateship.com for everything that's been reported broken, damaged, or incorrect product received, okay? I'm going to show you Pirateship in a second. It's really, really simple to use, and I highly recommend it for everybody. Now, I don't recommend that you set up your Amazon, the back end of your Amazon returns, and we're going to cover that here in a second when we talk about more information. But I don't recommend that you set up prepaid mailing labels in the back end of your Amazon returns, simply for the fact that then Amazon's basically just going to auto authorize all of your returns and you're going to prepay for all those returns, right? And it's going to eat your profit margin. Instead, what I recommend is you select which ones you want to prepay mailing labels back. And then obviously you also select which ones you don't want to offer prepaid shipping labels back for, okay? Now, for the ones that are reported broken, damaged, and incorrect products received by the customers, what I'll do is I'll offer a prepaid mailing label to the customer and I'll attach it in customer messages, and I get that via pirateship.com, okay? Because the issue here is this is not the customer's fault, right? They should not have to pay for return shipping if they received a product that's broken. They should not have to pay for return shipping if they received the incorrect product, right? Put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you were the customer and you got a broken product, for example, and then the seller was trying to tell you that you not only got a broken product, but you also had to pay to ship it back, you'd be like, what the hell? And you'd obviously be, pretty pissed off, right? And so you want to avoid these situations, A, because it's not the customer's fault, first and foremost, B, because your word is like you only ever have your name in your store, right? So you need to protect that at all costs. It's the only stock that you have to carry. Like your name is the only stock that you have to carry till the end of your life, and you are always going to be invested in it, right? So invest in it wisely, all right? And most importantly, number three is you want to not that those two aren't important, they are. But you want to avoid bad claims, right? If you try to make them pay for return shipping, you risk very unhappy customers, bad reviews, dings on your metrics, like inaccurate products or inauthentic claims, and worst of all, A to Z claims, which are going to go against your ODR. And you can only stay below 1% ODR. So if you get a couple A to Z claims, you're going to be screwed, right? You don't want to do this. It's not the customer's fault. Just offer a prepaid mailing label through Pirate Ship. Yes, you're going to eat the cost of the return shipping back to you. Obviously, if it's worth it to you. If not, if it's under $50, that's why I recommend that you just refund them, okay? And you don't deal with it. But if it is worth it for you, then offer to pay for the return shipping through pirateship.com to the customer, and then, everybody's happy and they get to return it and they don't have to pay for it, right? Keys here are: don't be cheap. Prepay for the return here or simply refund them if it's cheap enough. Don't be short-sighted on the one sale here. Think big picture of your account health and big picture of your ability to sell and make money on Amazon going forward. Trust me, it's not worth it to take the one-off sale and try to nitpick with the customer over one-off sales. Just either refund them or offer them a prepaid label and move on. Sell to other people, sell more, make more money in other ways. I promise you that's the right decision. Take your emotions out of it, okay? And also, this goes with something later, which is like if a customer claims that an order didn't, they didn't receive an order, but the tracking shows that it was delivered to the house. Like, key here is like, don't speculate if they're scamming you either. You can't prove it, so it's a wasted effort and it's just a waste of your time and your emotional sanity, honestly. And assume that every customer is honest, even if they aren't, okay? Also, refund every order where the customer says that they didn't receive the order, okay? And this is obviously after sending the customer service template on missing packages like we just covered, okay? And this is obviously assuming that they're still claiming it's missing after you sent that customer service message that basically says like, hey, here's the tracking number, here was when it was delivered. Please check with like your neighbors, or check with like your building manager, or check with like, literally everything that we went over in the customer service template, okay? And again, don't speculate if they're scamming you or not. You can't prove it. It's a wasted effort. Just assume every customer is being honest and it didn't show up even if they aren't, okay? So refund them. And you're refunding them, because you don't want an unhappy customer that, reports it, number one. But also, if they report that it wasn't there and it never showed up, Amazon is going to side with the customer 100% of the time, okay? Let me repeat that. Amazon is going to side with the customer 100% of the time if you don't have signature confirmation on your packages. I've lost A to Z claims where it was pretty much proven, even with a picture, even with the driver saying it, that like they handed it to the customer at the actual location. I still lost the A to Z claim because I didn't have the signature confirmation. That's Amazon's policy on it, right? So if the key here, the reason I'm telling you this is if the customer claims that it wasn't delivered to their house, even if you have a tracking number to prove it, you will still lose if they file an A to Z claim. So it's not worth it. Don't let it escalate to that. Refund them, okay? And obviously, then that leaves one last thing. So anything $50 plus that's not reported damage, obviously, or not the wrong product, which is, anything, like I said, anything 50 and under, I refund. Anything that was reported as broken or not the right product, I provide a prepaid label for. So anything $50 more or $50 plus that's not damaged and not the wrong product, I tell them that I'm going to honor them. I'm going to honor a full refund, but I will not cover return shipping. Now, I'm not going to advertise that I'm not going to cover return shipping. But what I'm basically going to say to them is I'm going to use the customer service template like we covered before on how they can ship it back for a refund to your return warehouse, right? So it's something simply like, yeah, you can certainly return it. You can ship it back to my return warehouse listed below. And when I receive the product in its original condition and its original package, I'll issue you a 100% refund, something along those lines. And then obviously list them your return warehouse or your house or whatever it is, right? Wherever you're shipping or using from, okay? So that's my return policy. Now, before we get into how to deal with Amazon returns, what I do want to cover really briefly is what Pirate Ship is. Now, I recommend Pirate Ship for everything, okay? I use Pirate Ship for returns on Facebook. I use Pirate Ship for returns on Mercari, on Amazon. I also use Pirate Ship when I'm shipping out products sometimes. Like if I need to ship out a product where I'm actually like reselling the product, I'll use Pirate Ship because it offers you the best rates. Now, you can literally paste the address in here, right directly from Amazon for this specific example. Obviously, the package dimension, the package weight, choose what the package specifically is. You can also say qualifies for media mail or, literally categorize it, whatever, and then say get rates. And it's going to tell you the best rates between like UPS, FedEx, the post office, and whatever, so that you can pick the best rate and you're not just going through one carrier, right? It's a no-brainer. I highly recommend pirateship.com, okay? Now, how to deal with Amazon returns. Okay, so with Amazon returns, you want to go to, the way that you get there is in your Seller Central. You want to go to Orders, Manage Returns, Edit Return Settings. Okay, and also you want to make sure that you have your correct return address under the Manage Return Addresses. So let me show you that. So you want to go to, again, Orders, Manage Returns. It's going to take you right here. And then you also want to make sure that you have your current warehouse or your current return address or your current house under Manage Return Addresses, because obviously when a customer returns it, they're going to ship it back to you. And when Amazon auto authorizes it, they're going to ship it back to this address as well. Okay, so you want to receive all those. You want this to be your returns. If you have a prep center, there you go, put it in there. But the majority of you are probably just going to be using your house or your location. Okay, so that's how you approach that. Let's go back to the PowerPoint here. So the ways that you're going to get returns, there are several different ways. You'll get messages in your Seller Central messages sometimes asking for returns. In this case, use the template that I gave you previously and ask them to ship it back, right? When you receive it back, then you want to check the name on the label and match it with a corresponding order name, or look for the return authorization slip or barcode paper, and you'll see what that is, obviously. And every Amazon return has those or should have one of those inside of the return that you can then match with an order ID. Then mark that on your spreadsheet, right? And when somebody messages you asking for a return and says that they're going to ship it back, excuse me, or when somebody, or when you get an email, like we're going to cover here in a second, that Amazon's like allowing a return to come back, you want to find that order or that person in your spreadsheet and that corresponding row. I mark it in orange and I literally put a note on it saying that that person's coming back. So that way, when I get a package back, I can either match the order ID or I can match the name super, super quickly because I'm just looking for the orange ones, right? But obviously, this goes without saying, just match the name or match the order ID on the return slip with the barcode inside of the package, okay? And then obviously refund the order for that customer by finding the order ID on Amazon and file for the return on your supplier and send it back to your suppliers, okay? And make sure, like I said, keep track of everything, as well as keeping track of like the profit and loss through the return. So when you pay for shipping, if it's prepaid, make sure you deduct that out of your cost right there. If the supplier refunds you back, make sure you take that out of your, like you get the picture. Just make sure that you keep track of it so everything remains accurate throughout the entire thing. Otherwise, like let's say hypothetically you have like 1,000 transactions and 50 of them are returns. Well, you might be, inaccurate if you're not keeping track of that by like a few $100 or maybe even $1,000. It depends, right? So it's key to keep track of this profit and loss throughout the entire process, which is another reason why I said before in my return policy, I refund everything under $50, so I don't have to deal with it, right? But you don't have to if you're, kind of strapped for cash, or if you have thin margins. You don't necessarily have to do that. That's just what I do, and I recommend it for most people, okay? And you'll also get return emails from Amazon saying that a return was auto-authorized and is coming back to your return address. In that situation specifically, that usually means that, not always, but it usually means that it was either reported as broken or damaged when the customer returned it, or they got something they weren't expecting or something along those lines, okay? So or it honestly could be a number of other things, like they said that they didn't want it anymore and they're paying for the return shipping, but that's rare in this case. Usually if it's auto-authorized by Amazon, it's coming back because it was like damaged or the wrong product, okay? Now, the last way that you will get return requests is either through emails or messages, or usually an email. And in this case, you're going to get like a return. A customer has requested a return, and you'll get that obviously through an email most times. Okay, and in this case, you need to then go back to your orders. Again, manage returns, and then find that specific return request. Okay, now I'm going to teach you how to approach it here in a second, and I'm going to show you, but let me just show you what that looks like. All right, so this is an example of what one looks like. This is a prior return. I don't have any return requests that are actually, recent right now, but this person reported a broken bowl, right? So what would happen is you'd come over here and you'd be able to authorize the return, or you'd be able to issue the refund if you just wanted to issue the refund. You'd also be able to contact the buyer. There should be buttons on the right when you find the corresponding order and the corresponding buyer, okay? You can also view more order details. If you want to issue the refund from here, like I said prior, and then just close the refund. If you want to close the refund and contact the buyer, this is how you're going to do it, right? You're going to go to orders, like I said, and then you're going to go to your returns and then find that actual return and then approach it from there. And that's only when you get a return request and Amazon's telling you that there's a return request, okay? So once you do identify it, you want to contact the buyer by clicking that little contact button from there, and then let them know where to ship it back, with the same template that we've covered before, right? Or if it's under $50, you can also just issue the refund from there, which is what I tend to do if it's under $50, right? Now, if you do get a return request here that's claiming the item was damaged or the wrong item was received, you want to either refund the customer again or close the request. This is, again, the best and easiest method in my opinion. Or you can provide them with a prepaid return label by, again, hitting the contact customer button on the right of that specific return, like I just showed you, and then going to pirateship.com and buying a shipping label for that customer from that customer's address on the order to your address or your return warehouse or wherever it is, right? And then simply attach that in the messages for them and let them know in the message that you attached it for them, and you're providing them a prepaid return label, okay? Now, that's if obviously the product was damaged or the wrong item was received. Now, if the product is damaged and the wrong item is shipped, you want to provide a return label, and then I obviously just said, trust me, I plan on going over this a little bit more, but I've already covered why, you want to avoid A to Z claims, unhappy customers, bad feedback, other claim, we've covered that already, right? Now, this is rare that you'll get like a return request here when you need to actually go find it in your orders and manage returns. It's rare that if you get a return request that it's going to be for a reason like, it's damaged or inaccurate. Like, that's rare. Usually if it's reported damaged or inaccurate or something like that, or the wrong product, Amazon will tend to auto authorize them because the customer will go through a different way and their return will be authorized a different way, right? So every once in a while you will see it like the one that I just showed you, but that is rare. Typically when you get a return request here that you have to go find in orders, manage returns, it's going to be because like the customer changed their mind or they're going to claim something like it arrived late. When you actually, as a customer, go into your order and you file for return, there's a number of different choices that you can click. And based on what the choice that the customer clicks is going to be how they're able to return the item, right? Whether it's auto authorized, whether they're going to message you, and so will your return policies as well, right? Whether they're going to message you and so on and so forth. And that's basically how you handle returns and the overall strategy there, right? Now, again, just to reiterate, if you haven't set this up yet, you want to go to orders, manage returns, you want to set your return address, and then you want to specifically set up your return settings. Do you want to do you want to auto authorize everything? Do you want to provide paid labels for everything? Do you not want to provide prepaid labels? And if so, for what, right? Now, I've given you my strategy and how I approach this. It's up to you to set up yours however you want to, but this is how I do, and this is how I recommend that you do. Hope it helps.